Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto Manga review. So yeah, this one's going to be for Chapter 9 of the Boruto Manga, which is called You're Just Like... ... And yeah, we finally finish up the movie adaptation as of this chapter, which is really good in that, like, I think people were worried that, like, they may have expanded it into, like, Chapter 10, or maybe even longer, but them just getting it done here, I kind of definitely appreciate. And that, like, at the end, we do get the little kind of bit at the end saying, you know, Boruto sets off on a new adventure in the next chapter, on sale end of February. So that's really good to hear that we're done. I'll obviously talk about the details of the chapter and how it ended the thing, but let's just talk about kind of what's coming next at the start here. It's definitely interesting because obviously we got, since like last chapter, in around last chapter, we obviously know about the Boruto anime that's coming. And everything seems to point to the fact that the Boruto anime is going to be the main content of Naruto going forward, in the sense of, like, we're going to be very much getting our new content from the anime, and then the manga is just going to be like a secondary version of the anime. So, but what it does mean is that we are, assuming the anime and manga are both covering the exact same story, which they could do something different with, but I don't see why they would. That means that we're going to get at least 2 chapters of the manga covering new content before the anime actually hits the point of giving us the same new content. Once the anime does hit, I think we'll pretty quickly go past where the manga is, but we are at the very least going to get our first look at the new arc from the Boruto manga, which is definitely cool. It's going to be fun to see how exactly it's shown and so on. But the other thing is, obviously, with the anime, we don't fully know yet exactly how that's starting. Is it starting with a new story, or are they going to, like, animate Gaiden, Boruto, the 7th Spring thing, that story with the focus on Sarada? Are they going to do that, or are they going to animate some of the one-off kind of chapters that focuses on that stuff? Chapter 700 still needs to be animated. Are they going to do that stuff early on in the Boruto anime and then move into the new content? Because I think they could get like 5, 6, maybe 7 episodes out of that content that they haven't done yet, we haven't seen in the animation. So that would leave time for, you know, the manga to get like maybe 4 or 5 chapters ahead, so the manga isn't just like completely behind after a couple of weeks. But still, either way, I think the anime is going to pass out where the manga ever gets to. So interesting, just that we are pretty quickly soon going to progress into the new story. So, like, next month we are getting what the new story direction is. Like, the only thing we've had to go on is that, like, 2 or 3 pages at the start of Boruto Chapter 1, where we have Boruto in the future. And this seems to hint that we're still going to get Boruto in or around the time of just after the movie, like immediately following up this, maybe a little bit older, maybe there'll be maybe a year, a couple of months time skip, but nothing in any way hinting that, like, as to what that first chapter was really about. So they're going to have to do a lot of big stuff, but there's a lot of excitement around it just because there is the potential for them to do really big stuff, that, like, the ninja world maybe falls apart and it's left for this kind of new kind of tattoo focused techniques that Boruto and the other guys seem to have. But anyway, that's all in the future. Let's focus for now on this chapter. I thought the chapter was good. It was a huge showcase for the artist in that there's dialogue, but there's not a ton of dialogue, and none of it's like all that like huge because it's mainly an action scene. And in that sense, you know, not a ton of ground is actually covered in this chapter, which made it all the more impressive that I was just like, wow, they'd actually finished the arc here. But really all that happens here is that we see the Boruto's vanishing Rasengan, disappearing Rasengan, free all of the Kage, including Naruto, from the Shadow Possession Jutsu that Momoshiki was using. Then Naruto helps Boruto to charge up a massive Rasengan, huge Rasengan, and then they execute a really cool kind of triple decoy maneuver with Sasuke, Boruto, and Naruto to finish off Momoshiki with Boruto delivering the devastating final blow, and literally the chapter just ends. like Boruto like is just like, wow, my arm is pretty wrecked after that attack. It's not like hugely badly injured, but like he's like, it's got like burns, and then it's kind of like a Rasen Shuriken, almost like that injury. Um, but that's just where we end. It's just he's this comparison to Naruto that like he's different in some ways in that he's probably a more naturally talented ninja shinobi compared to Naruto, and that Naruto had to do everything with sheer hard work to get to the point where he was, even though he had huge potential. Whereas Boruto actually has that natural skill and ability, but maybe didn't have the hard work. But now he understands the truth behind hard work, and there's the potential for him to be amazing. The one thing I think this chapter did highlight is that Boruto doesn't have anywhere near the chakra pool level that chakra reserve level that Naruto has, just because we got that really nice moment when Boruto's basically charging up the final attack, and then Naruto just like touches his hand, and immediately the tiny swirling Rasengan just completely expands, and like Boruto has to hold it over his head. It's like just hundreds, thousands of times bigger than himself. And it just showed the confidence that they had in him, the trust that they could let Boruto deliver the final blow with this huge Rasengan. So that was fun, but really when it came down to it, the only like plot focused thing was just the end of the fight. That Momoshiki charges up his giant attack, but the Boruto and Naruto combined Super Rasengan bursts through it, and that wins the fight. If this is in fact the absolute last thing that we get in relation to the movie, maybe they'll start off the next chapter with the kind of epilogue stuff that the movie had right at the end, in the sense of like they didn't have like the conclusion of like Boruto saying that like, okay, Sarada, you want to be the next Hokage. My dream in the future is that I actually want to kind of be there to protect you as the Hokage, kind of get you to that point and always be there for you. They didn't really have that moment. They didn't have the jokey bit at the end of them asking Mitsuki, like, who's your father, and it being revealed to be Orochimaru. So I think we could get in the next chapter the start of that kind of resolution thing of like them returning home. Just the kind of couple of page, 5, maybe up to 10 pages epilogue of the movie, then transition into the new arc. Because as it is now, I'm just like, you spent so long in this movie adaptation and you just kind of ended in midair. Like, they're still out there in the battlefield. The fight is literally over and you're just saying the arc is over. So I kind of felt in a way like the movie arc just kind of ended just there, and it was a little bit unsatisfying, even though I'm glad the movie arc is over and that we can get into new content, which was the whole point of this in the first place. But yeah, like as I said, not a ton to say. The big gist of the arc here is relating to the chapter title of You're Just Like, and Sasuke noting that like you're different than Naruto, but you are in the end the same. That Naruto's will has been passed on to you, and your actions here in this big fight have kind of shown that him not giving up and him acting when he needed to in the fight, and kind of against all odds, sort of like Naruto did, in moments like against Kabuto and so on. I did actually like that moment of like, as the attack is charging up, you have kind of Boruto, in a way, like, experience Naruto's experiences, that he sees through this technique, the Rasengan, this shared technique between them all that kind of links Naruto and everyone who's kind of trained him up to that point together, and now Boruto is kind of like a part of that lineage of the Rasengan. And I liked how he saw stuff like him using it properly for the first time against like Kabuto. He saw Jiraiya using it. He saw the double attack of Minato and Naruto, and just all these various points at which he used it. Sasuke versus Naruto, and how important this technique ultimately is to Naruto, and that Boruto being like tasked with delivering a giant Rasengan to finish this fight is very symbolic, and that it's really proving to him that like his father believes in him, and that he's kind of like passing on this technique to him, and the trust that he's just as worthy to continue it on as Naruto was from Jiraiya and his father. So that was well done, and of course, just ending it at that point that like, okay, in a way for the Boruto manga, we sort of needed this in a way, in that it wouldn't have necessarily been just right to assume that everyone had seen the movie and just immediately jump in with a somewhat developed Boruto at the start and just have him be the way he is. You did need to, I think, start this manga series off with the moment that is the big turning point for Boruto. That being this event, the whole, not wanting to do the hard work to learn the techniques, even though he's skilled enough to do so, and in the end understanding the truth behind hard work and how, in a way, that's what defined Naruto and who he is. You needed to have that development for Boruto before you started into the new stuff. So they may have spent a little bit too much time telling the movie adaptation, but now that they have, we're into good stuff, and Boruto's in a nicely developed position to a degree. And then, yeah, just like as final conclusions on the entire movie arc, I think it was overall pretty well done. There's a few additions, but I'm actually more surprised with the amount of stuff that they left out, considering that it got like 9 chapters that are in or around 50 pages. Sarada really wasn't a part of this thing at all that much. Like, as I said, like them not having that kind of potential romance hint between Boruto and Sarada at the end, with her being wanting to become the Hokage and him saying that he'd support her, I think that missed the mark a little bit. So I hope they at least address that with their characters as we go on in the main story. But so yeah, we're obviously going into chapter 10. Chapter 10 is going to be the start point for our new arc. And as far as I'm aware right now, we know nothing about what's coming next. We know nothing about what the next kind of start point really is. I assume they're going to start it out slow. It's going to be their first, mission, and it will probably turn into something bigger than they maybe expected it to be. In that this is going to be the Land of Waves arc from Naruto again, and that it seems like it's just this kind of lower ranked mission to escort this bridge builder back, but it turns into something more, and it becomes this bigger moment for the characters to prove themselves in battle. I can see them potentially doing that to start it off as a kind of nostalgia point to the original Naruto, and that something similar happens to Boruto. And then as we start to introduce the bigger plot points of like who our first main villain is, like our Orochimaru figure from the original Naruto, like who's that going to be for Boruto at this point in time? In that, like, we're in an era where like ninjas are still around, but it's a much more modern time, and what the initial couple of pages of Boruto seemed to be suggesting was that there's more to the world than just ninjas, and that potentially we'll see the end of ninjas and the whole idea of the ninja villages being the core of the world. So we could start to see a shift away from that stuff in terms of new techniques that aren't directly related to ninja techniques becoming an important role. But yeah, that's been the review for Boruto Chapter 9. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the chapter, and what your thoughts are going into the new arc as well. That's the main thing I want to hear about. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.